I don't know. We're having a problem. Says we're having an issue.
Hmm.
To our audience, can you hear us? Can you see us? Can you let us know on our audience? Uh, I think we just started again. We're having a couple of issues. Can you
We're
just have
live.
someone tell us? Can you hear us? It looks like we're okay now. So we'll just join you and tell you the Kings lead by 2. They had a 16-point lead. Dapes, Rhino, and Jerry. Jerry, not the best half of basketball I've ever seen. Thank goodness for Keon Ellis. Zack LaVine, who is that? I don't. That doesn't look like the Zack LaVine I've watched my entire time covering the NBA.
No, it really isn't. I mean, he is just out of sorts totally. Really seems to have lost his game and confidence. Really, uh, he's a scorer, and he really seems to be, trying to fit into a fault. And we've talked earlier. I mean, hey, if you're a scorer, he's always been an aggressive, hungry scorer, and we're seeing really trying to make plays when they're not there and turnovers. So, yeah, All-Star break probably can be really good for this team, number one, and for Zack LaVine in particular.
Jerry, how do you look to get him going, if at all, here in the second half?
I certainly think that they could try to run a couple plays for him, start him low, bring him off a screen, get a double, whatever it takes, just to get him the ball with a live dribble in scoring range. I think that's one of the things any scorer. And we're seeing him put the ball on the floor so much to get in scoring range. Get him in scoring range with the live dribble, and I think the game might get easier for him.
Ryan, good news here. I think Zion Williamson's probably only going to play 15 minutes in the second half. He probably won't play tomorrow. The bad news is CJ McCollum, Mr. Kings killer, only had 6, and I expect him to go off in the second half. The Kings defense, guys, what the hell is wrong with this defense? It looks awful.
Jerry, they give up 38 points in the paint.
Yeah, and a lot of those are just open transition points in the paint, where the Kings are really slow getting back, reacting. If one guy they're getting beat off the dribble and nobody's even stopping the ball after they get beat, so there's no help and no real pressure on the ball. And like I say, I think if I were Coach Christie, I'd start the second half really picking up. Before the half court line, getting into Alvarado, trying to even run guys at him to make him give the ball up because, he's just breaking the defense down every time he touches it.
And I think it's notable, too, there were so many plays at the rim towards the second half of the second quarter that Domas could not make. He was a spectator because he has 3 fouls, which hurt the Kings as well, Jared.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, there's so many things it's hard to figure, I mean,
yeah,
I don't other than Keon Ellis, I don't really see a positive out there. I mean, I've seen moments from Monk and moments from DeRozan, but overall, I mean, this team is if they don't come out with some defensive intensity, they could lose this ball game just because Alvarado and Zion Williamson will take it from them.
And don't let this team hang around and feel good with 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter because they haven't won a game in weeks. And they'll feed Zion Williamson the ball. And let's face it, the Kings don't have anybody that can contend with him. I don't know how many guys in the league can. Could you guys imagine if Williamson got right, and that's a big if, and could play 35 minutes every night, 70-plus games a year? I mean, he would dominate this league. Is there anyone, Jerry, in the league that could really contend with this guy?
I don't know. I mean, to me, he's a 2025 version of Charles Barkley, when he's healthy. I mean, and, with Barkley, and you remember, I mean, you couldn't guard him. You just couldn't guard him. I mean, you just hoped he missed shots and he'd draw fouls. And that's the way it was Zion. But fortunately for the rest of the league, Zion and of course, the Pelicans, they haven't been able to count on him at all. But, the Kings – he is the one guy, I mean, you can almost excuse scoring points because I really do think he's as close to unguardable as about anybody in the league. When he gets ahead of steam, you just can't deal with him. But the rest of them are guardable.
Yeah, but Jerry, can't you stop him from getting that head of steam to a degree? It feels like the Kings are playing way off.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Just what we talking about with Alvarado. I mean, once he gets the ball, send somebody else at him. Basically don't let him dribble the ball down the floor. make him give the ball up, or at least to make him turn with
Yeah.
the ball. As you've
Great
watched
point.
and I have, I mean, he's just going straight to the back. He's full speed time he gets to the top of the key.
Hopefully, before the third quarter starts, somebody goes up to Keegan and says, "You do have permission to score if you would like." His lack of offense is baffling to me. It really is. It's just baffling to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is. I mean, he never has the ball. You know, it's really tough to score without the ball, and that's the problem. I think with this team as constructed, you got a lot of hungry scorers, and you know he's not one of them, and so you know if you don't run stuff for him, he's not going to get a lot of shots.
So I just learned something. In order to score, you have to have the ball.
It's something I learned early on as a college player. My coach took me out and said, "See how much you can score sitting there." When you got back, you know, said, "You selfish little prick, just sit there." And
Oh.
it was a memory that still stays today. And I thought, oh, okay, I kind of get the picture now. Nobody explained it to me like that.
Hey, comic, grab some pine.
Yeah. Well, I deserved it. I'd never say otherwise. But I mean, it is the truth. I mean, with a guy like Keegan, I think you know that's where you need some structure, because he is not a one-on-one guy. He's going to fit into a fault, you know, and the other guys are, you know, when you got Monk and DeRozan and Zach, you know, they're going to put the ball on the floor and look for themselves.
Yep. Jerry, the other thing I learned is if you don't throw the ball to your best player at the end of the games, you're probably not going to win a lot. When you were at Vincennes, that was Footsy Walker and Bob McAdoo.
Yeah.
You know, right? Make sure you get the ball to Mac.
Yeah, it was pretty easy coaching decisions at that time. Yeah, you know, but I mean, that's the way it always is. I mean, it's kind of like a DeRozan the other night. I mean,
yeah,
the guy that can go get shots and create shots for himself, you know, down the stretch of games, that you've got to have those guys. And that's what scares me about this Pelicans team, is because you pointed out C.J. McCollum can do that too.
Oh boy,
he's been quiet, but we know he's capable of a 20-point half, and
oh
so
boy,
that's why the Kings have really got to come out and put some pressure on these guys early. Double these dribblers, you know, get the ball out of Alvarado and Zion's hands, you know, by midcourt if you can.
All right, I got 124 to 119 Sacramento in this game. I just can't imagine them losing to this team. I'm sorry. No. I know we've talked a lot, but the Pelicans are terrible. I mean, they have Zion Williamson and they have CJ McCollum and they have but they don't have any depth. They don't have a bench. I just can't see it. So 124 to 119.
I'm going to say 119 to 115, Jerry.
120 Kings, Pelicans 111. And you know, to your point, Grant, the Kings, as bad as they are, the Pelicans are a bad defensive team too.
Oh God!
you know they want to give you shots so they can run down and shoot themselves. So you know, anybody that decides to try to play a little defense here in the second half will win the game, and I think that's going to be the Kings, because I think with Keegan and Ellis, you got two guys who can really guard somebody.
Jerry, are you sure the Pelicans are a bad defensive team? I'm looking at a stat sheet that says 10 turnovers by the Kings for 12 points. It seems like they're a pretty good defensive team.
Well, they had nothing to do with about 8 of those turnovers. You know, you had as much to do with those turnovers as the Pelicans did.
Yeah.
All right, so it's a 2-point game. We will look forward to being on after the game. Jerry, thank you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow again at intermission. Boy, it is going to be a real Debbie Downer if we're talking about a loss on the post-game show. You need to win both these games. You cannot split these two games. With the way things are going, you need to win these two games. This is a bad team. They've lost 9 in a row for a reason. They are a bad team.
Yeah, and with Golden State clearly improved with the Butler thing.
Oh, boy.
I mean, these are must wins going into the All-Star break. As you said, simply no excuses, get the W's, and that's it.
Rhino, we'll talk to you after the game, buddy.
Can't wait for it.
All right, everyone, enjoy the second half. Bye-bye now.